Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, my name is Griefdrums, and in today's video we are going to be covering Maverick and some tips for playing him if you haven't yet utilised him, just so that you're ahead of the game before Grimsky drops on Tuesday. So tip number 1 is going to be the hot breach technique. Now if you saw last week's top 3 tips of the week, you will already know about this, so feel free to skip past it if you have seen it. If not, let's jump straight into it. Now when using Maverick, it is very easy to burn through all of his gas on his blowtorch. You can burn through 3, 4, sometimes even 5 of the canisters just to open up a section of the wall, especially if you've already opened up a couple of little small holes to try and shoot through, and then you try and open up a section of a reinforced wall to get through it. You can easily burn through it all. So this technique here is a really cheeky one. I saw about 4 or 5 posts on Reddit basically explaining it, and I've been using it ever since. Now you need to know that the wall on the other side is clear. I mean, at the end of the day, the second you start opening holes, you are pretty vulnerable. But what you can do is you can just create a circular motion with the blowtorch. Do not ADS, because if you aim down the sight, it is really slow. So you don't want to do that because it wastes more gas basically. But if you just go in a circular motion, make sure it's just slightly bigger than yourself and you can actually walk through it crouch. Really handy tip. Really good for getting into a room quickly. Tip number 2 is going to be use Maverick stealthily. Try and use him like Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell. He is really good at making loads of little holes in the sight like Swiss cheese, certainly from above. And unlike Buck and Sledge, who are going to make loads of noise doing this, Maverick doesn't. He can be really effective at making loads of little kill holes in common spots that you can look down, or even on just the main wall and having a Blackbeard or a Glaz push up against it. Maverick really is a really sneaky operator, but I think you need to play him that way. If you just go up to the main wall of a site and start putting holes in it, any half switched on defender is going to stick his head up against it and just shoot you in the face while your blowtorch is out. I personally would advocate using Maverick in a couple of different roles. Firstly, to take out bandit batteries or mute jammers, just open up a tiny little section at the bottom of the main wall just so people can shoot those out, and then as soon as that is done, rotate off, go above the objective site, make a load of holes, or even below the objective site, but make a load of really sneaky holes for people to shoot through, not just yourself, and then move between them all. If there's about 6 holes in a wall, as a defender you don't really know which one to look at, so that can be really daunting. And the other really good thing about him is that because his gadget, even though it has been buffed to be slightly louder, it's still really quiet. So if you're on the other side of a room making a hole and the defender's looking the other way, you are going to very quickly have the drop on them and be able to just wreck them. Tip number 3 is that Mav and smokes are a strong combo. They are ridiculously strong if used correctly. That's probably the reason he's lost them before the TTS even finished. As I said earlier, Maverick is most vulnerable when he's opening walls. So because he's exposed by the hole he's creating when he hasn't got his primary out, the easiest way to counteract this would be to utilise smokes. Even if you throw the smoke grenades on the outside of the wall, the smoke permeates through and provides a layer of cover for his gadget. This could be really good if used in conjunction with the hot breach technique as well, from tip number 1, because you can literally put a wall of smoke down, open up a great big hole, open up a couple of smaller holes and have Glaz peek through, or you can just push straight into sight and get a plant down in an area of the map they were not expecting it to happen. Not that early on in the round anyway. Okay, so tip number 4 is going to be that Maverick's holes work both ways. Now I know that sounds really stupid and you're going to say, well obviously, duh. But the reality is, if you make too many holes at varying heights on a wall, it's more likely that defenders will be able to clearly see you and take you out through your own artwork. If you don't put enough holes on, then it's obvious where you're going to peek through. If you make just a single hole, your head, they know it's going to appear there in the next few seconds. So put a couple around, but make sure that you're not exposing other areas of yourself. What I mean by that is I have seen people do 2 or 3 holes at about head height and 2 or 3 at about waist height, and they've done them sort of staggered and in between, so their legs are exposed to one of the holes while they're trying to peek a different one. It is kind of a balancing act of the size of the holes that you want to create and also the quantity, but if you elect to be really stealthy, instead of just opening up loads of holes on the main wall, you can hold several rotations from the craziest of places. So the final tip, and tip number 5 for today's video, is going to be this claymore trick. Now, this is going to be very situational, but it's also something that a lot of people are probably not going to be expecting. What you can actually do is by running up to a reinforced wall, preferably something like a mirror window, because you can almost guarantee that someone's going to be stood behind it. By running up to that, placing the claymore down, and then disappearing for 5 minutes, maybe, go away for a few seconds so they don't know what exactly is going on, you can actually stealth up to the window and get below it and just blip a tiny little hole at the bottom of the wall. By doing this, they don't know it's happened, but it allows the laser to then shine through onto the other side of the reinforced wall. Now, if you do try this, don't try and blowtorch open a great big hole at the bottom of the wall. Not because it gives the lasers away, but more because you will die doing it. If it gets set off when you are next to the claymore, you're dead. So by doing a tiny little blip on the middle laser, it gives you long enough for the blowtorch to actually burn through and for you to get away. Once the laser goes through, any mirror player that is standing on the other side, or any defender that's standing on the other side, if they move or turn too far, they are dead. Now, like I say, this has to be done stealthily. If they know what's going on, they're just going to move away from it and they're going to shoot the claymore out as soon as you open up the hole. And whilst it is fairly situational, it's a lot easier to do this with Maverick because you can do it on reinforced walls, which people don't expect to happen. But go away, try this out, and let me know how you get on. I think this could be really cheeky. We could see some quite interesting kills. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider hitting that thumbs up. If you haven't already checked out the one for Clash, make sure to go and do that as well, as there's some really good tips in there, even if I do say so myself. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay reckless and relentless.